What's up, Amazon sellers? Happy Sunday and welcome back to the weekly Amazon Q&A show where we share some e-commerce news, some stats, the occasional business maxim, and of course, the most important thing, we're here to answer your questions about selling on Amazon and everything else that you might need help with. So if you've got a question about retail arbitrage, maybe you are curious about online arbitrage, you want to dive into wholesale, or perhaps you've just got a curious Keepa chart, drop it in the chat and we'll be happy to help. Now, for those of you who may be new here, my name is Chris Grant, and to my right is my salutiferous co-host, Chris Racing. Chris, how's your Sunday going, man?
Sunday's good. Yeah, it took me a little bit of hunting, but I think I finally found a good vein of post-Christmas sales. So sourcing is looking up. A couple false starts, but I think I found where I need to be. So feeling good about that. How was your Christmas?
Christmas was wonderful. We something we do that I love is we always go out for Chinese dinner on Christmas Day. It's one of my favorite things. I will have to say, I love Columbus, Ohio. I do not miss the weather, and spending Thanksgiving up in Ohio reminded me of why I love being in Florida now. However, I do miss the restaurant that we used to go to on Christmas. I just have not found a restaurant like it, but we tried a new place here for this Christmas and it was great. They had duck on the menu, so you got the Christmas story feel. If you wanted to order that, nice place. So that was fantastic, but also it was just nice to unplug a little bit. What about you, man?
Yeah, it was good. We got the family. Like Thanksgiving was a little bit messed up. Thanksgiving was my the holiday that my wife had to work. Not that I'm a huge fan of Thanksgiving, but so that's actually fine with me. But it was kind of felt through the family. My mom was a little sad, and so we all got together for Christmas, and that made up for it. We all had a really good time. So yeah, the girls absolutely cleaned up from a gift perspective. So
right.
Which, it's not breaking news, of course, but they're both 12 and 7. So this is peak gift, joy of gifts,
Absolutely. Yeah, it is always nice. I like it when, much to my wife's dismay, you could just get me just some socks, some undershirts, some underwear, and that's cool with me. That's all I need. Now I did get some great gifts. I got a cool book that has some really great illustrations in it, and that I'm a huge fan of Ralph Lauren, which ends up being his brand, but really because of his grit, determination, that kind of stuff. But I got a Ralph Lauren sweater that I have wanted for years and years and never pulled the trigger on.
Nice.
And we don't have a whole lot of opportunity to wear sweaters, but every now and again we do. So we've got a cold front coming in. So we may end up seeing this sweater on Wednesday.
Yeah. Is it going to be like high 60s?
No, it's actually going to be. It's going to be in the. It's going to be in the low 50s.
Ooh,
yeah,
man, that's they cancel school for that, and
it gets awful close. But they do hand out parkas at the front door.
Those foil looking emergency blankets, like stay safe, everyone.
Something I have really enjoyed over the holiday is You and I were talking, and we were going through some books that were on sale, and both of us probably pulled the trigger on too many of them. Um, and well, I mean, is that really a thing? But that's another argument. Um, but I got into one, and it was The Art Thief.
Mhm.
Um, Holy cow, I could not set the thing down.
Nice.
First book in a long time where I was like, "Man, how can I get some more time with this book? What can I do to, steal a few minutes to read?" And I ended up finishing it in 3 days. Now, it is a short read, it's only
Mhm.
250 pages, but it was so, so good. So if it's still on sale, if you're looking for a true crime story, the possibly the most prolific art thief ever to live, stole like $2 billion worth of art around there. Fantastic book. But man, also what a sad life
Mm.
this guy led. Like I found myself being interested in him, being sad, like I felt bad for him. It was just it was so good. Um and then of course I was like, all right, I gotta keep this truck chugging along. And so I started reading The Stand.
Oh.
Um, Now going from a 250-page book to a 1,200 pager was probably a poor idea. Uh, but I am finding myself, kind of the same thing. I was actually reading, I got through half a chapter right before we hopped on here, and I was like, I'm trying to steal these little moments, to read,
Mhm.
and, I don't know, it's got this fire burning, for reading again, and I'm very excited.
Yeah, that's the power of a good book, and speaking of The Stand, that was essentially you described Stephen King's advice on how to read more often.
Mhm.
His advice was to steal moments. Number one, always have a book with you, which the Kindle app on our smartphones makes it very, very easy to accomplish that. And then two was to just steal moments to read a page or two. If you're in line at the grocery store and you're waiting, instead of scrolling social media, pull out the Kindle app, read a couple pages. I mean, that's essentially how you read more, according to Stephen King. Um, it's funny. Not to maybe we'll get a decent cross section of the audience with this example, but it just takes one good book to kind of just launch you into a long period of time, and it kind of rekindles your joy of reading.
Mhm.
Not that it fades. I mean, it just kind of runs into ruts here and there. You'll have a book that you're not enjoying, and it doesn't dawn on you that you can just quit reading it and switch to something else. But you just kind of you get in little lulls, little periods of complacency with books, and but it only takes one, um, to just reignite that fire. And what's weird is the comparison that I draw is to anyone that's played golf. Um,
Mhm.
golf is golf is the toughest sport I've ever played. Haven't played them all, but it's got to be way up there as far as difficulty level. Um, but it's a series of failures, and you try to save yourself. But the thing with golf is that it only takes one good shot, and that will propel you and reignite your passion for the entire rest of the season. You just catch one ball right on the sweet spot where you don't even feel it, and you see the flight, and it just does exactly what you wanted it to do. Uh, you're good for the rest of the year. You'll that's enough to rekindle the love of the game. So I kind of compare those two things. It just takes one moment, one book, one shot. Um, yeah, to keep you going, to keep the passion alive.
You are absolutely right, and that's such a great that's a I love that analogy. Yeah, I can't remember if I told you or not, but I went golfing with another Amazon seller, I don't know, a month ago or so, and I'm smacking the pin. And I didn't go in, but it smacked the pin, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go. I'm going out for my tour card. Like that's all I needed.
Yeah, yeah. It's just and both. It's about chasing. You're just chasing one perfect moment. One perfect. Perfect chapter. And it's about how you feel when you find it. These moments are fleeting, so it's kind of the pursuit of it. Um, Reading and golf. It's the same thing.
Mhm.
We're just looking for that perfect afternoon in both cases.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you for listening to us talk about books. I picked up some more books today. And I know that Reading Club is coming back in OAC Plus in
Hmm.
January. So like I am stoked for this next year. I'm gonna be trying to get through some good literature, both fiction wise and self-help and um business books, stuff like that. And you know what,
Hmm.
I took my kid to the mall the other day with a friend of his, and I found a whole section of like self-help and business books that I had totally missed at Barnes and Noble. I didn't even know was there. And I was like, this is dangerous. uh, so
Yeah, Barnes and Noble 50% off hardcovers, I believe, currently.
yeah, they've been having some killer sales here recently. If only they would allow me to buy online and pick up in store. Um, all right. News is, and hey, good to see everybody. I see we've got a couple questions here. We're going to get through one piece of news, and news is a little light this week, as it is this time of year. At end of the year, everyone's kind of phoning it in. So we'll take as many questions as you guys can throw at us, but we do have a little bit of news. So very first piece is there are some changes coming to the seller fulfilled refund process. And these changes are coming very soon. They're effective January 26th of 2026. The refund process is going to be updated. And of course, Amazon says it's to improve your return management experience and give you some more time to assess returns. Right now, the processing window for returns is currently 2 business days. It's going to be extended to 4 calendar days. So you could argue, well, that's not really more time. It is. So if you get a return on Monday, you get 4 full calendar days. If you get a return on a Thursday, or if you had gotten a return on a Friday, you would have gotten Friday and Monday. You technically would have had, 4 days. Now you're going to have that same Friday to Monday, and it's going to be 4 calendar days. And what happens is if you don't refund the money in that time period, it can automate a refund from Amazon. For most return delivery days, you'll get some additional processing time, is exactly what Amazon said. And of course, if you don't process a refund within 4 calendar days of receiving a returned item, they may issue that automated refund. In those cases, when Amazon issues that automated refund, you are not eligible for a safety claim or a seller assurance for e-commerce transactions claim, except for very specific situations, such as when a returned item is lost in transit or delivery confirmation was incorrect through no fault of your own. Good luck proving those ones. Okay. The lost in transit, maybe, but the delivery confirmation being incorrect, that one's pretty tough. If it's returned via USPS, I don't see many pictures on those. So it's not like you can compare your front door to a picture that they send you. All right. Um, in those cases, of course, you can still file for a safety claim. And Amazon, of course, they want you to use the guided refund workflow. And what that is going to do is it's going to allow you to grade returned items, apply the correct restocking fees, and upload evidence when items are returned in a different condition than they're shipped. So I would highly suggest doing that. It's good practice to take pictures of things when they're shipped, merchant fulfilled, and returned to you, along with that packing slip, etc., just so you can give that off to Amazon. But that is what's changing, and that changes come January 26th.
Yeah, so not perfect by any means, but it's a step towards trying to be a little more accommodating to the seller. Correct?
Mm-hmm. It seems that way. I think,
yeah, clear advantage to returns earlier in the week. Weekend kind of stays the same. I get a little bit more time for your early week returns, though. But and this isn't the first time that Amazon's kind of tweaked things to make it a little bit easier for the seller to deal with returns. That is a pain point that we have in common with Amazon. They company wide. They're actively trying to reduce the amount of returns and retail sales in general. Nobody's happy with the returns. This is kind of a bit of a monster that Amazon created themselves simply by going above and beyond for the customer convenience. But it's good. You see Amazon starting to change a few things, try to make it a little bit easier, make some efforts to add some friction to the return process. They're kind of the pace car in the industry. So it'll be interesting to see what trickles down from other retailers. And we've already reported on this, that there are some companies that actually there's some companies making some significant changes to the return process. So all of this is welcome. We got to kind of change the mindset of the customer when it comes to returns. It's a bit too easy. It's too easy to commit fraud also,
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the in between the lines. That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's answer some questions. And of course, if you guys have any questions, drop them in the chat. We'll be happy to chat about them. Jeffrey, hey guys, can you do an Amazon to Amazon flip using Amazon Fresh? I'm looking at a product and the only way to get it delivered is through Amazon Fresh. Is that okay, or is it against terms of service? I'm not 100% sure. And the reason is I'm not sure if Amazon Fresh is a Prime membership benefit or if anybody can use Amazon Fresh. If it is not a Prime benefit, then yes, you should be able to do it because it's only against Prime terms of service to resell those items back on Amazon. Could you technically resell Prime items on eBay? Yeah. But I don't know. And I'm not sure. So like what I see is that at Amazon Fresh, Prime members can save up to 50% on grocery favorites and shop Prime exclusive deals. But I'm not showing that it's actually a Prime only benefit. So I would double check that. And if I'm not mistaken, if you use Amazon Fresh and it's not a Prime benefit, do you actually get free shipping? Or do you have to pay $9.99 for that item to be delivered or something? So I would double check on that as well. Hey, Polly, what's going on? Let's see here. JP, have you guys ever ventured to the wholesale side or always stayed OA? I have done a little wholesale myself, not a lot. It's not my favorite thing. And I like OA. I like RA and OA. But I think that RA and OA are also a great It's very easy to add wholesale into RA and OA. I don't know that it's necessarily as easy the other way around. So let me explain. If I go do some retail arbitrage or I do some online arbitrage and I get items delivered to me or I have items in hand, it's very easy for me to just turn the item over, look at the back of it, and then see exactly who I need to call. Like I can call this 800 number, I can call this distributor, I can call this brand, and I can find out where I might be able to go to get an account. So I could do that. I could do that driving in between store A and store B. I could do that after my sourcing session, whatever it is. When it comes to wholesale, the people who are, dialing for dollars and reaching out to 30, 40, 50 different distributors or brands every single day to try to get an account, I would imagine they're probably not going to spend a lot of time going and trying to find those brands online to do arbitrage afterwards. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think wholesale feels like it needs more of a plan. You got to kind of structure it and kind of make a plan of attack. OA and RA, you can just decide to do it. With OA, I can open up a new tab and I can buy inventory, within minutes, depending on where I'm looking at, if I know exactly where I'm going to go. RA, I can schedule mornings on certain days and I can just decide where I'm going to go from there, and make that part of the process. The thing is when you initiate the action, the inventory is going to come a very short period of time after you've decided to take the action. Wholesale, not so much. There's there's a much lower batting average with wholesale. It feels more like a bigger plan to do. Like I said, it's you could make 20 calls and strike out on all of them. So the entire allotment that day that you had for wholesale could result in no inventory at all. It's not something I'm opposed to. I kind of, in my head, I think there's an obstacle because I think it's going to take a bigger time commitment than I'm willing to give up right now. And I think there's more efficiency that I can achieve on with my own store as far as OA and RA goes. And there's a lot more volume. There's a lot more sales that I can accomplish via RA and OA. So I think I want to just focus my energy on that right now.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the other things too, and listen, we're not against wholesale.
No.
We're not against any business model. They all work if you work them, but I think one of the other things that people forget about or maybe don't even think about is you can treat retail arbitrage and online arbitrage like wholesale. Here's the thing. Wholesale, when you get an account, it's very likely that you're going to be able to buy more quantity. However, and this is pretty much across the board. Now, are there some outliers? Sure. But across the board, wholesale margins tend to be thinner than RA and OA. It's like RA has the highest margins and probably also the most difficulty in gathering inventory because you've got to literally go to every single store. And then OA is going to be the next. And then wholesale is going to have probably your lowest margins. Now, maybe if you get a brand direct account, perhaps you get some higher margins, maybe. But if you can buy the item at Target, Walmart, etc., they're very likely getting a price that you will not be able to get because they may be spending $1 billion a year on that inventory. And so the brand or the manufacturer is willing to take, a penny per item in profit because they're going to sell so many units. But what I'm trying to say with that is I actually think that retail arbitrage and online arbitrage can be treated like wholesale, especially if you're willing to take some thinner margins. There are a lot of items out there that sell 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 times a month that maybe you'll only make 25 cents or 50 cents per unit when you sell. Maybe it'll cost you $3, maybe it'll cost you $7 to buy. Um, and you can order in bulk from many of these big box stores. You can also go into the stores, and I have had managers buy me 500 units of one ASIN or one product, and then call me when it gets delivered. I've had friends who have picked up pallets of items from big box retailers. So there are ways to do wholesale in an arbitrage model without buying from Costco or BJ's or any place like that. Um, it's just you need to change your business model a little bit. Eden sings, what is going on with Amazon requiring expedited shipping for economy shipping orders to receive claims protected status? I'm leaning towards late risk. Um, I can't say for sure. I would probably be taking a real close look at my merchant fulfilled template to make sure that it's set up correctly. Um, if you've got 2 day shipping and you're in Florida and it needs to be shipped to Oregon, that could be the issue. You've got to pay for expedited, even though they chose economy shipping because you've got it set as 2 days. That'd be the first place that I would look. All right. Let's talk another piece of news. And of course, if you guys have questions, I know there's probably it's the end of the year. Not a lot of people are thinking about their business. They're thinking about relaxing a little bit. But I found this really interesting because every couple of weeks I get the question, why do I have to give some discount gift card company my ID? And people feel weird about that. People don't necessarily like know your customer laws. But here is the reason that these kind of laws exist. There's a massive gift card scam that was uncovered by the Texas Financial Crimes Intelligence Center, which I had no idea existed. But they have arrested 3 guys, accusing them of stealing about $14 million from gift cards purchased at stores from Dallas, Fort Worth to Central Texas and across the Gulf Coast. The FCIC said the process they use to scam consumers is known as gift card cloning. So it begins with them stealing unactivated gift cards from retail store kiosks. So they've got to go in and steal these things once. And then they open up the gift card packaging so they can copy the electronic number from the card. Then the card is put back in its packaging and resealed. And then they got to go return the cards to the store kiosk. And then they wait for the customer to purchase and activate the card. When the card's purchased and funds are loaded to the account, they then drain the funds before the customer can use the card. Now, these 3 guys got away with like $14 million and this started in like May of 2025 until now. So it obviously paid well. Perhaps I am just incredibly lazy, but this seems like an awful lot of work to run a scam.
It sure is. What a process. Like, man, it's to go to all that effort, like how hard would it be to just, I don't know, get a job? Yeah, this is it's pretty special. Yeah, this boggles my mind. You know, the lengths that people will go to try to scam and steal some money is incredible. Um, now I wonder, they would have to go. They would have to find gift cards that didn't have the scratch off portion, right? Or is that what they were actually doing? Were they scratching it off and then resealing it afterwards? I wonder.
I think they were scratching it off in a lot of cases because they did say, "Hey, you guys need to make sure to like check for, um, check the cards that you buy for signs of tampering, that kind of stuff." So I'm guessing that a lot of people probably just don't pay attention. They just rip the thing open and like, all right, time to spend.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's more than I want to do. Which,
Yeah.
but you know what? They got $14 million, and I don't. So I guess but they've also got some shiny new silver bracelets that I don't have yet. So maybe I am winning. All right. Again, if you guys have questions, let us know. Be happy to answer them. I know it's gonna be a little dead in here today, in between holidays, but um, I thought I'd bring a law, a rule, or a razor back today. It's been quite some time since we've had one, and this one is I think it's the Zeigarnik effect. I believe is how it's pronounced. So in the 1920s, there was a psychologist who walked into a restaurant. This is not the beginning of a joke, I promise, and noticed something weird about the waiters. And this ended up leading to a discovery that might explain why you can't stop thinking about your business at 2 o'clock in the morning. So, what what this person saw was that the waiter could remember uh, like every unpaid order in minute detail. Like they knew where the people were sitting, what they ordered, how many times they've refilled their drinks, etc. But the moment that the bill was paid, the waiter didn't remember anything anymore. Like it just wiped it from their memory. And so this psychologist named Bluma Zeigarnik, hopefully I'm saying that right, uh, but saw this and she got curious. So she ran a series of experiments and found out something interesting. Our brains remember unfinished tasks way better than completed ones. That's why it's now called the Zeigarnik effect. Your brain creates tension around incomplete work, and that tension keeps it front and center in your mind until it's done. Um, this is why like half done tasks keep nagging at you. Like your brain literally won't let it go until the loop is closed. Now, there is an alternate side to this. Okay. Students who take breaks in the middle of studying, not after they finish, but right in the middle, actually remember more. Okay. That interruption actually creates some tension that makes the material stick. That's also why there are cliffhangers in TV shows. It's why there are progress bars in the apps you use. It's all this Zeigarnik effect. So the question is like, how do you use this? Well, first, you understand that unfinished tasks it drains your mental energy. If you've got like 10 half done projects, your brain is trying to juggle all of them, trying to close those loops. Okay. So finish what you start. Like I like this rule. Like if it takes less than 5 minutes, just get it done. That's a really good way to close some loops. But secondly, you can actually use this strategically to your advantage. You can take big projects that you're working on and like break them into chunks and then stop right in the middle. Okay. And your brain will end up keep working in the background on this particular project. You'll come back a little bit sharper, and you may actually figure out some things, or maybe if you want to call your subconscious brain, will just kind of figure things out while you're sleeping or working on other things. Third, you can gamify your progress, like track your completion percentages, use checklists. Your brain wants to close these loops. So if you give it some clear ones to close, you might actually get through some things a lot better. All right. But yeah, that's the way the brain works, and it's Zieglernick who figured that out. Um, so, and I've actually got some things coming for OAC Plus here pretty soon. I've been working on a dashboard based on the Zieglernick effect to help us like spend money on inventory, to help us close some loops in, our accounting, our inventory, opening up cases with Amazon, all that kind of stuff. So hopefully I'll have that out around the middle of January or so.
Yeah, this is. I think about this a lot. I guess the Zieglernick effect is an open loop in my own brain since I learned about it. Yeah, this one fascinates me. Ernest Hemingway actually used the Zieglernick effect when he wrote his novels. He would actually end his writing sessions in the middle of a sentence, and then essentially clock out for the day. And I believe his days ended around noon. And there was a lot of drinking and partying and stuff afterwards. But he stopped in the middle of a sentence so that when he got back to his typewriter the next day, he knew exactly what he was going to write. And he could close that loop. And he swore that overnight, while that half finished sentence was sitting there, his brain was working on the rest of the story. And it was also a cure for writer's block, because as soon as he would just finish that sentence and there's no blank page, that one of the biggest issues has already been solved for the day, and he would just write for hours on end in the mornings. So yeah, this is a big one. If you think about this, this is essentially the root of the philosophy on smaller to-do lists. And then, like, to your point of breaking big tasks into smaller chunks, it's all about closing the loop. So we can close the loop and give our brain a rest and let it flush the completed task out. And I think in large part, I think this has to do with some of my struggles being self-employed. I think my good work days have very clear schedules. And I think I require closed loops, because we've talked about it before. I have a hard time giving myself permission to be done for the day, because there's always something I could be doing, you kind of, this kind of business, there's constantly something you could be working on, so I think it depends on, planning and setting up a reasonable to-do list, and then crossing those off, closing all those loops. I think that would probably make it easier for me to give myself permission to be done for the day. But yeah, this is a big one. And you could also argue that it's the philosophy behind prepping your to-do list the day before. You kind of have all those open loops, and there's theories that your brain works on it overnight. So once you get in front of your desk the next day with that to-do list that you made the night before, your brain's kind of prepped itself to attack that list. So yeah, this is pretty powerful. See Netflix if you doubt that statement.
Right. Yeah, so in the evenings, my wife and I are watching a little bit of Stranger Things, and we're on the last season, and of course, these last couple of episodes, they've broken out the release date. They came out a couple months ago, and then they released some on Christmas Day, and the finale releases on New Year's Eve. And they used this very, very well in each of the episodes. So,
yeah, I mean, it's essentially the culprit behind the entire binge watching. I mean, streaming also facilitated it, but it's all grounded in the Zeigarnik effect.
yeah.
'Cause just
Matter of
one
fact,
more episode, that's the
last
monster.
night's was so good that I needed to get up. I needed to go, do something. I needed to. My son wanted some water before he goes to bed, and it was right at the end of an episode. And my wife was like, "Hold on," and watched the first like 30 seconds of the next episode to see what happens. And she was like, "Okay, now you go ahead." Um, so, all right, let's answer a couple more questions. I'll get you guys out of here maybe a little early on a Sunday evening. JP, are generic listings against the rules? I see many categories that their top brand is generic. You're going to see that a lot because people have broken the rules and created a lot of generic listings. You are you cannot sell on generic listings. You're not supposed to. Number one, there are very specific use cases for selling on generic listings, none of which really are going to be in effect for arbitrage sellers. Now, how can people stay on those listings? I can't say for sure. Maybe they've never let themselves go out of stock and they can just replenish, that kind of thing. I'm not 100% sure, but you do want to stay away from generic listings. Everything on the listing is supposed to match what you're selling, including the brand. So if you're selling Dove and it says generic, well, you're breaking a rule right out of the gate. So, and we are seeing a little bit more frequently that people who sell on misbranded listings have a more difficult time if and when they have suspensions. So,
Yeah, wasn't there something, I don't know if it was anecdotal or whether there was actual documentation behind it, but wasn't there, when they kind of locked down the generic policy, didn't they basically grandfather the people who were in stock at the time? And essentially those are the people that can replenish the inventory, because I always seem to see multiple sellers on these generic listings.
yeah.
It's never just one straggler, and then it gets the listings deleted once they're out of stock. These seem to be active listings when they come across my screen.
Yeah. I don't recall if that was done in writing or not, but it certainly seemed. I mean, that seems to be the way that they played it.
Mhm.
You know, um, and then there are some people who seem to be able to create generic listings still. I don't know if they're just doing whatever they feel like, or if they've got some sort of grandfather clause that they're able to get around as well. JP, can we create listings of brands we are approved, but the brand is not selling on Amazon? Rarely anymore. 3-4 years ago, yep, absolutely. I never created listings frequently, but once or twice a year, I'd create 4 or 5 different listings. These days, it's usually pretty difficult to go in and create a listing for just about any brand. You have to be brand registered to create listings for brands. And you're not really getting brand registered on much of anything these days. Hey, Polly. In Seller Central, manage seller fulfilled returns. If return status says auto authorized, does this mean the person got a QR code to return it to me? Yes. If it was auto authorized, they should have everything they need to return that item to you for a seller fulfilled item. Hey, JP, I'm seeing the points and miles videos. Amazing info. Will you have another updated version? I don't think so. Um, Tom is he runs so many businesses. I'm not really sure whether he's going to be interested in doing another one of those. Tom does have a free school group that you can always join if you need to, ask a question or something like that. We've also got a credit card channel in OAC Plus, and we've got some folks in the group who are really good with credit card points. Um, I'm getting I'm no black belt, but I'd say maybe I've got my red belt currently. So
Yeah, I got a little six-figure collection of points across different reward platforms.
yeah, I was actually just looking at it. I think I'm coming up on like 700,000 here pretty soon.
Oh yeah.
In chase points. Um, so can you guys take a day and teach the newer sellers how and what tools to give a virtual assistant? Yeah, we could talk about that this coming Thursday for our weekly coaching call, which is what day is Thursday? That is New Year's Day. So if you can make it at noon this Thursday, I know it's a holiday, but that's a work day. So I'll be there at noon. Hey, Jerry, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Want to say hello from the road, Seattle to Las Vegas road trip. Considering relocating my business to a less costly state. What would you do differently, Chris, moving to Florida? I can't say that there's much I would do different. Yeah, when we moved, it was done rather quickly. It was actually the decision was made sitting on the beach after a Disney vacation that was extended. It was supposed to be like 8 days, and it got extended to 12. And we were sitting on the beach on the day before we go home, and it was kind of like I could live here. And then it was like 3 months later, and we were down here. I would love to have taken a little bit more time to sell my house. I would think I may have been able to wait out for a better offer, but it was also not the market that we were in during COVID or post COVID. This was pre COVID. Um, but I made out pretty good. Bought the house for 60, sold it for 150. Can't complain too much there. Although when I look at it and I see that it's now worth like 275, I I get a little upset. Um, I'm happy with where I chose. It was between here and Texas. I love the great state of Texas. Austin is actually one of my favorite cities down there, although San Antonio is nice as well. I probably would not live in the Dallas Fort Worth area, just too big. But I'm glad we chose Florida, and especially where we are. We're away from Disney, far enough that I don't have to deal with the traffic. I live in an area now that's sort of feels like I'm in the country, but there's a Starbucks 5 minutes away for my wife, um, and yeah, I can't say that I would make too many changes. I'm glad that I made the move. It is definitely not necessarily a less costly state to live in. Real estate's a bit more expensive post COVID. Um, you know, Property taxes are a bit higher. There is no state income tax, which is nice. Um, and that goes for the business as well. But on the other hand, you do have higher fees for having businesses in the state. Nothing crazy. But yeah, I don't think I'd change anything.
And from the you've mentioned it before, but from the Amazon seller perspective, you were proactive. you always seem to be proactive as far as like opening up cases and kind of giving them a heads up as far as
Mhm.
what changes are going to be made. That applies to if you're changing your bank account or changing your address and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
You didn't run any problem that served you well moving to a different state also, I assume, right?
It has. Yeah, that has always served me well, whether it was someone living in my household who also wanted to sell on Amazon, whether it was moving addresses, moving states, changing bank accounts. I always just open up cases ahead of time. That way, when it does happen, I either have zero problems whatsoever, or I've got a very easy set of emails. It's like, hey, you guys said that this was okay, and here's all the proof that I've done this. JP Bricks Army catching up on the stream. Is it a bad idea to use a PO box for FBM returns? Not sure how I feel about having people seeing my home address. So I've seen a lot of people who are worried about their home address showing up. Um, I have never heard of anybody ever having an issue. It just doesn't really happen. But the other thing is I'm not really sure that you could use a PO box. Uh, you could use like a UPS box if you wanted to, but you can't use a PO box because returns are going to be returned to you via UPS. Maybe so I can't remember if the postal service ever sends me returns. I'm sure they do. But you're going to get returns from multiple different carriers, and only the postal service can get into a PO box. So you have to have them shipped to somewhere with a physical location. A UPS box you could do, but again, you're probably overthinking it. It's not a big deal. All right. Well, Chris, we're going to be a little short of an hour, unless you got something else you want to chat about before we wrap this bad boy up.
I don't know. I'm going to ask you what books you bought. I don't know if you want to do that on air or off air, but
Oh,
I'm definitely
I
hitting you up
don't.
on for that info.
Yeah, I don't mind at all. So I ended up buying. Let me just open up my Kindle app here. Um, I ended up picking up. Go to the library. Brave Companions by David McCullough.
Okay.
Which is sort of it's called Brave Companions Portraits in History. So it's these sort of these vignettes into people's lives who are important in American history. David McCullough is a great author, as it is, and so and I sort of like those. Tell you a book I always loved as a kid. I always loved Chicken Soup for the Soul. Um, and I read the teen ones, I read the kid ones, I read the sports ones. I read every single one I could get my hands on. And I loved it because it was it was just a collection of short stories essentially. Matter of fact, one of my favorite horror books um is kind of like that. I can't remember the name of it, but that was also one I read in elementary school. And it was just a bunch of short stories, scary stories for kids. Um, but that really attracted me. And then the other one I bought today is Happy Money by Ken Honda, the Japanese art of making peace with your money. Um, and I posted in OAC Plus, like the Japanese just seem to have a way with ideas. We've got Ikigai, we've got Kaizen, we've got the Masogi, and I'm a fan of all three of those different things. And so, like, I would imagine they've got some good ideas about money. So I figured, why not learn what they're throwing down? So that's what I picked
Yeah.
up today.
Nice. Yeah, I put that one on my wish list. I'm gonna go back and look that up. And what was we got a Tim had a shout out. Brideshead Revisited is one of the best novels I've ever read.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I'm gonna
All right.
write that down as well.
I'll look it up. We need to come up with like a some sort of shared repository. Um,
I've told you that before, like, with the digital books. I mean, I have hundreds of books on my Kindle now, and part of the fun is being able to display it, and and have people that are interested in it be able to look at your bookshelves. There needs to be a definitive ebook storage system,
mhm.
or like almost like maybe even like a social network or something specifically for books, where you can display your bookshelves. Because that's the one part of it. I mean, I love the portability of it. I love how convenient it is. Um, I just can't show off my shelves.
Yeah. It is a bit gratifying. I like when people are like, "Hey, can I see what's
Mhm.
on your bookshelf?" Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Take a look. Just don't touch. Um, just
Right.
look.
Keep your hands
Um,
in your pockets.
Mad Moo Dog. I have an LLC, but my seller account shows my name and seller info. How can I change that? Technically, you can't. When you go through the tax interview, an LLC, it states that an LLC is treated like a sole proprietor because an LLC is just a pass through organization. So that's unless you want to break the rules, that's the way it's going to work. Now, the way to get around that is for your LLC to be a partnership or for you to have some sort of corporation. But technically, a single person LLC is treated like a sole proprietor during the tax interview and will have your name show up. Now, let me also say this. This is also probably something you're over indexing a bit. Um, 8 times out of 10, if I see an LLC, I can find out who owns it. Um, it's not usually too hard. Now, if you know what you're doing, you can absolutely hide who owns a certain LLC. Okay. In most states, most people don't go to that length, though. Polly, follow up to my last question. Customer sent an item back and I sent a refund. It says prior refund applied, and I pressed complete, but it still appears on my screen. What are the steps to complete? Um, there shouldn't be anything else for you to do. I would just wait till it goes away. Um, and heck, it may not go away. Amazon's system is always glitchy. But if you've refunded them, if you've got the item back and the money's been taken out of your Seller Central transaction list, you should be good to go. Yes, Amazon is absolutely goofy.
And they did have some API issues over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite sure what that butterfly effect is. I know it did. I got a little sweaty in the palms Saturday night, I believe it was, when Rev Seller went down, and I had a lead list due the next day at noon, so I was kind of sweating it. But it may have something to do with that. So there's always hope that it corrects itself on its own.
Mm-hmm. Are we ever required, Monica? Are we ever required to answer a customer question about a product, or can we mark as resolved? Um, if that comes as an email to you, or as like a buyer seller message, I would answer it. But if it's just one of those emails that says, "Hey, a customer asked a question on this listing," I don't answer any of those. Like, you shouldn't even have to mark that as resolved. Um, Matter of fact, I can't remember what it is, but I went and I turned those emails off.
Mhm.
I'm not going to answer those questions. But if it's a buyer seller message, I would answer that. Like, that's just good customer service. I know that technically Amazon customers are not our customers. They're Amazon customers who just buy our wares. But I think that we should treat this business like it's our own retail store and try to offer good customer service and stuff like that.
Yeah. I forgot about those. I've had those turned off for so long. I forgot they did that. Those the customer has a question about a product or whatever. Those actually go, or at least a selection of them. Those actually go on the detail page, right? They're in that Q&A section, and that's basically just trying to give more information. Which I wonder how important those are going to be now that Rufus is on the page.
Wonder if they'll start
diverting that sort of stuff to Rufus now to answer.
Amazon was really pushing Rufus on me on desktop the other day, auto opening it up on the left hand side. I was like, you guys need to calm down. Let me open up Rufus on my own.
Right.
Jerry, follow up on the previous question. Would you have any tips on making the Amazon switch easier, or would you have done anything different? No, I wouldn't do anything different. Anytime I move, which is as rare as it can possibly be, I open up a case before the move. That's all you need to do Amazon wise. Now you do a lot of merchant fulfilled, so I might try to get through all my inventory that you've got there in a warehouse. But that wasn't an issue for me. We were doing FBA. So the other thing I would do is, the only other change I would make is I would probably try to I'd probably try to open the case and make the address changes a week before I moved. That way, if I do get a return during the move, it goes to the new address rather than the old address. But that can also be handled with UPS and USPS and all that stuff. Like I paid for like 3 years of mail forwarding from the USPS for my old address. So. All right. Well, guys, that's it. I know it's going to be New Year's Eve, but Chris and I will be back on Wednesday at 5:30 to do this all over again with you guys. Answer your questions, bring a little a toast to the new year. I'm ready. 2026 is going to be good. And on Wednesday, I've got some data points to bring up to show what I think is going to happen in 2026. I think it's going to be great. One last question here. Sleekiest, do I have to respond to these messages about these people claiming that they are the brand owner of the products? I do not respond to those. I mark those as spam and report them to Amazon 99% of the time. You want me to take you serious? Spend some money and send me an overnight letter, or spend the money to make me have to sign for a letter. Because when FedEx has been dropping off a couple of Voorhees letters on my front porch lately that I don't have to sign for, I'm like, come on, I thought you guys were a serious business. So, all right, everybody, have a great rest of your evening. We'll see you this Wednesday, New Year's Eve, to do this all over again, bring us some more information and help you out any way we can. Until then, I hope you guys crush the week ahead. Talk to you soon.